we're going to be talking about the 3 tips that you can use for 2023 to grow your business slash brand, right? Now, this is not necessarily something new. It's just that there's so much noise in the market and there's so many trends and there's so many things that come and go. But something that is always standing true to time is the next 3 things that are going to be mentioned that are going to help you move your business forward. And it's interesting to see how everything comes full circle and it always goes back to, I would like to say, classics, right? You know how there's like fashion trends, and then we always go back to the classic um, tennis shoes or t-shirts, right? We always come back to the classics because it's tried and true, right? It works. So in this episode, that's what we're going to be talking about. What are the 3 things? And I'll share with you some statistics as well. I like to kind of look at that and share that with you to kind of help you see why this is going to be so important for you to start implementing into your business if you haven't done so. And if you are, how to keep going and really doubling down on that, and how I'm doing that myself as well in my own business and how my clients are doing that as well. Okay. So we're going to dive deep into that now. So the first tip of how to use this marketing strategy to your advantage to grow your brand, to grow business awareness, is by building authentic relationships or connections with your people for long term. Now, this is so important because building relationships takes time. So if you're putting out content out there, if you are, whether it's on video, written, you want to be able to connect with people. So if they're reacting to your post, if they are, agreeing with you on something, on a stance that you have, you want to make sure that you are also responding back to it, because this is how you're going to build the relationship. So understanding that marketing is a long-term plan, and that in due time, if you continue at it, it will come to you tenfold, is what's going to help you, right? Creating awareness, growing takes time, and understanding that this is just part of the process, and really finding ways that best fit you as the marketer, to be able to go ahead and do those things. Now, building relationships can be done in many different ways. I've seen it done in so many ways. And especially if you can personalize it, it's going to create such an awe effect with your people, because they're going to feel connected with you. And it really doesn't take much time, right? You just kind of have to look around your toolbox per se, right? And see what way or what medium is going to help you to create these relationships and these connections, right? Considering that we, as business owners, we have other things to do. We have client work and we have content to create. But what way can you build that connection with your audience that is going to really move the needle forward in the goal of creating brand awareness and making that connection with you as the business owner as well, because they want to feel, again, in one of my previous podcasts, I had also mentioned that one of the things that everybody craves, especially now, is being heard and understood. They don't want to be sold at every single minute. Yeah, if it's a byproduct, of course, right? But they do want to be, they're humans and they want to be treated like that. They don't want to be sold by robots or chatbots or bots or any other thing that an AI can do, right? They want to feel really like they're being taken as humans. So the more that you can infuse humanness to your marketing, the more they're going to get to know you, fall in love with you, your product, your services, and they'll just close that gap that it's in the market right now. And the customers are asking for it. The way they're buying, their behaviors is really, really changing. So if you're investing the time to making those connections and building those relationships, there is a bigger possibility of you getting that sale locked in, because you've made that investment of time that maybe somebody or your competitor's not making. So that tells you a lot right there. So that's the first tip: building authentic connections with your people and making it a long-term relationship. Just because they don't buy right now, let's say you've invested the time and they don't buy right now, don't think that that's a no forever. If they're in there with you, they're making a connection, you keep nurturing, you keep building that relationship, because maybe in time they'll be able to work with you. Maybe right now they don't find that service, that they need in their business or in their life, but they might be able to tell somebody else, hey, you know what? I came across this connection online and she's really great at what she does. And here's this connection, right? You don't know how that's going to come around for you. So really just keeping a bigger picture view of it and seeing it from that lens is really going to help you when you sit down and think what is going to be your strategy moving forward as we're going into the new year, 2023. So my second tip here would be live streaming and video-based content. That has been a thing and has been getting momentum since when I started in my business um, locally, and I wasn't really online. I didn't have an online presence. That was back in 2016, 17. We started seeing that shift, right? A lot of people are interacting more and more and more with live video. And if I take a look at the behaviors just here in the household, right? And I was doing like a check as to see, how they buy and the behaviors of purchasing now. Everything is through social media. They're going to turn to social media to look. They're going to turn to influencers. They're going to turn to YouTubers to see reviews before they feel comfortable in making a purchase. So if we take that, right? Like I know my kids, my husband, myself will go through social media. We'll go through maybe YouTube shorts, things like that, right? So you start seeing, you start connecting the dots and you're like, okay, video is a thing. It has been, okay, I pointed this estimation, this statistics. I'm not sure what article it was, but I'll drop it in the notes after this episode. But it's 548 billion hours are being, consumed just on streaming. And notice this, it's through mobile. Okay. So that gives you two things. You should be if you're not online, you should be online. If you don't have an online presence via video, you should really move into video. And can we make sure that whatever type of content video format we're doing is mobile friendly, because everybody's consuming right in that way. For 548 billion hours, that's a lot of hours. And that we can take that data and really see how we can use that and how we can use our marketing efforts to be able to get in front of our people that we want to support and help. So definitely, if you're not using video, getting into video again, seeing how you can do it in a way that supports cell phones, mobile. And then we also want to make sure that if they're consuming and they're scrolling, right, and they're going through the social media platforms pretty fast, we don't have a lot of time to be able to grab somebody's attention and really hold them to watch what we're trying to say. So we really want to be creative as to how we're going to catch their attention for how long, right? And it's not a lot of time. So keeping that in mind when you're creating your content, you don't want to be making like a 10-minute thing and be like, wow, they might not hold that their attention. You might not hold their attention for that long. So what I've been seeing lately that's been a great thing is anywhere between the 60 to 90 mark, 90 second mark is a great spot for you to create your content. So if you want to get in front of your people, how can you create something bite size to go ahead and create that minimum 60, maximum 90 seconds so that you can get in front of your people and bring them into your other area where they can consume more of your content and get to know who you are, your brand, your business. So that will be tip number 2. Live streaming and video-based content, preferably bite-sized videos that drive engagement and increase your brand awareness. So that's where you can use video to introduce who you are, what you do, what you stand for, and then create engagement, right? So I might take a snippet of this podcast, let's say, for example, right? And ask a question. And I'll ask you to leave me a comment below because I want to engage with you. I want to talk to you. I want to hear you. I want to know your thoughts, right? That's just an example there of how you can do that and create bite-sized video content for your audience. So that's tip number 2, live streaming and video-based content, preferably bite-sized, And that drives engagement because we want to talk with our people and we want to build relationships, which is tied into point number one. And we want to increase our brand awareness. What type of content will create brand awareness? All right. Now, tip number three, it's authenticity in your marketing. What does that mean? So you can never go wrong with just being yourself. So I know that if I show up here, I'm in my microphone, I'm in my office, I'm in my t-shirt, this is going to go up on YouTube, right? And you're going to be hearing me. By me just sharing with you my core beliefs, my values, and my expertise in business, I'm building that authenticity with you. By the way I am creating my content, I'm going to create that authenticity. Will I look for inspirations? Of course, but I'm going to try to give it my own spin so that you can see who I am and infuse that into it, because that's what people are looking for. Like, I know that when I'm looking through social media and I find someone that maybe matches what I like, I'm like, oof, I love that very much. And I'll start following them, right? So if I bring my true self to the platforms, I'm going to be able to connect with people that most likely I'm going to love to work with. And we're going to have things in common. And that's going to help build those relationships. And it's going to help create that brand awareness that I'm looking for just by being myself. I don't need to go ahead and do anything. If I didn't want to show up on camera and with makeup, I wouldn't, but I do. So I do. So I fix my hair. That's just who I am as a person. Like, if you see me outside, you'll see me this way. Maybe sometimes not with makeup, but for the most part, this is what you will see. So I'm just gonna present that to you. You hear me say, that's just who I am. There you go again. That's just my personality, and that's what I want, if I'm coaching you, if I'm in a video, if I'm training you, if I'm speaking to you, most likely it's not going to be very different. So I don't want you to be surprised. I want you to have a take to see, okay, do I like her? Do I like her bubbly personality? Do I like her energy? Do I vibe with her? Then you can make that decision. So by showing up authentically, it serves you, but it also serves your audience, your community, your people that want to buy from you, because then they can take a taste of you and see if they're liking what you have to say, how you're saying it, and if they're understanding the way you teach based on how you're delivering it, right? And then they can make an educated decision to move forward with you and continue following you and continuing watching your other stuff that you have on your platform, or even moving closer and working with you one-on-one. So that's tip number three, authenticity in your marketing. Now, to just recap again what this is all about, we were talking about the 3 tips to create brand awareness in your business for 2023. And I'm going to repeat those 3 again. Number 1, building authentic connections with your people and having the viewpoint of building long-term relationships. Building relationships is the way to go, finding how to infuse that through your emails, through your stories, different ways to be able to build those long-term relationships. Then number 2 is live streaming and video content. Preferably think about it in the way of creating bite-sized content so that you can be able to grab the attention of the audience, be able to engage with them, but also be able to create brand awareness. The 2 things that I mentioned there were keep a focus on driving engagement. So maybe asking questions, polls, things like that. And the other thing is, how can you bring brand awareness, right? Maybe you can share about what you believe or your mission so that your ideal client or your community, your people know what is it that you're here to do? What's the impact? What's the difference? Again, it goes back to going back to your core message. And then number 3 is authenticity, just being you. You can never go wrong with just being you. Of course, if you're feeling nervous, I promise you that as you practice, it's gonna get easier and easier for you. If you're feeling a little bit like, oh, I don't know about this, it gets easier and easier and easier as you do it. And if you keep in mind that, again, like I mentioned, that data report, 548 billion hours are being streamed through mobile because people are consuming it that way. So when I read that, I was like, I knew it was a lot, but that's a lot of hours. which is great feedback to know that whatever efforts you make when it comes to marketing are gonna really push forward. So I necessarily wouldn't spend. I'll I'll try to make sure that if I have anything to say, I'm gonna say it on video. Why? Because I know that my people are consuming content through streaming or through videos. So might as well just turn on my camera, turn on my podcast, right? And say what I have to say and then share it. If I want people to listen to my podcast, you best believe I'm going to get a snippet out of this and I'm going to go ahead and put it on my feed. And then you want to listen to the rest of this episode to get more tips, I'm going to point you to my podcast because I want you to get that. And if you find that this podcast has served you, this episode, I want to hear from you, right? Drop me a comment below because I want to have these conversations. That's why I am showing up live. That's why I'm showing up in my communities. That's why I'm showing up in your email box, all these things. I want to make connections. I want to talk to you. I want to see, is this working for you? Do you find value in it, right? And if you agree or if you don't agree, right? Let me have this conversation with you. Why not? And why yes? So again, it's these three things don't go out of style ever, even if there's trends. So go ahead, replay this podcast again if you have to, and write down the three things that you can try and start implementing for 2023, and start seeing how you really start seeing your content really pick up. And I've tried this for like the last half of the year, and it's amazing how carousels have done really well, and also the reels on video have done really, really, really well to be able to connect, to be able to create brand awareness for sure, but to be able to connect with people and be able to build relationships. They work, and if you can take advantage of the platforms, and since like Instagram is giving a lot of preference to reels, then I mean you're going to be able to get to your people if you're taking advantage of these three tips that I'm giving you on this episode. So that's all I have for you guys today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon on the next episode.